Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how do we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started. It's the eCommerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your host, John Suder, Bart, Mroz, and Brittany Blackman. The eCommerce Minute is a production of SUMO Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm located in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's the eCommerce Minute, episode 758.
In today's episode, Brooks Brothers files for bankruptcy.
Iconic retail brand Brooks Brothers has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and is searching for a buyer. Founded in 1918, Brooks Brothers is one of the country's oldest retailers and are best known for its polos, button-down shirts, and prepster work attire. Rent had become a burden for the iconic retailer, and the disruption from the coronavirus pandemic expedited a sales process that started in 2019. Brooks Brothers currently has more than 500 stores worldwide and employs 4,025 people. In early April, the retailer began to discuss which of his 250 North American stores it would close permanently, after already deciding to close about 51 as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Most of those store closures have already begun, and Brooks Brothers is moving forward with plans to reopen the majority of its stores it had to temporarily close due to the pandemic. Brooks Brothers generated more than $991 million in sales last year, roughly 20% of which were online. It has wholesale agreements with retailers like Macy's and Nordstrom, and contracts to manufacture uniforms for NetJets, United Airlines, among others. Brooks Brothers has attracted interest from potential buyers, including Authentic Brands. However, many buyers will prefer to acquire Brooks Brothers with fewer stores. As the coronavirus pandemic continues to impact many industries, more retailers are unfortunately having to make the tough decision to file for bankruptcy. Brooks Brothers joins Lucky Brand, GNC, Tuesday Morning, Neiman Marcus Group, J. Crew, JCPenney, and many other retailers that have turned to Chapter 11 for protection during the pandemic. Adding to their troubles is the plain fact that corporate America has turned increasingly casual, and fewer men are buying suits. And once people started sheltering at home, they turned to even more casual attire, such as sweatpants or lack of pants. As people began to head back to the office, it isn't known whether they will return to a more formal way of dressing. And as the unemployment rate rises and those who do have jobs continue to work from home, it's increasingly difficult to get Americans to buy nursery clothes, let alone wear them. Meanwhile, competition from younger brands like Bonobos and Lululemon has cropped up, even as Brooks Brothers has expanded further into sportswear and brought in trendy designer Zach Posen to reach more modern customers. In its search for a potential buyer, Brooks Brothers is looking for a partner that aligns with the apparel's core values, culture, and ambitions. Hopefully, the right buyer exists and comes forward in a timely manner to keep this historic brand alive. While it seeks a buyer and restructures its debts, Brooks Brothers said it has secured a $75 million debtor-in-possession loan from WHP Global. WHP, backed by Oak Tree Capital and BlackRock, is a brand management firm that owns Anne Klein and Joseph Abboud apparel brands. This is kind of a sad story, but it's also a cautionary tale about our country and how we just don't dress up anymore.
We don't. It has been changing over the past few years. I mean, if you look at it, I used to have to wear a suit all the time, but over the past 10 years.
When's the last time you had a suit on? Your wedding? That's the last time I had a suit on. Your wedding.
Which was a year ago.
I can't remember the last time I've had a suit on either.
Can't tell you the last time I had a button-down shirt on, and I used to live in button-down shirts.
Yeah, I mean, it has changed. Overall, I think it's, internet brands, right? That's just given. Just internet technology, that has changed a lot of it, right? And that's been happening over the years, and it's just been bigger and bigger. Other thing is, I think because a lot of CEOs or a lot of formal attire people have changed up, people started wearing like a jacket, jeans, and sneakers, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It started progressing in that. I mean, you still have the real estate people, attorneys, they're still wearing full suit, but I think it's changed.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that Brooks Brothers suffers from, and it looks like they're trying to turn that around, but I don't know how you do it with an iconic name like Brooks Brothers. It's always been, you say, oh, I have a Brooks Brothers suit, and all of a sudden you go, oh, well, you're dressing like a person who wears Brooks Brothers. So I love Brooks Brothers shirts. I love their suits. Can I afford them? Not really, but the stuff lasts forever. But it still has that stodgy old money stigma to it. I don't know how you get away from that. And maybe they don't need to. Maybe they just stay with their niche audience of people who still have to dress up, aka lawyers, people in banking, things like that. I don't know how you get through to younger people. And I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years when suddenly lawyers aren't wearing suits anymore. It's very interesting. It's more of a cultural thing. I mean, the pandemic obviously accelerated this, but I think this is really a cultural thing to look at. It's a touch point where people are changing. It's like, it's actually not, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's not for the better. I mean, people look like crap when they go out now. It's like you go and it's like people just wear their pajamas out. They don't care anymore. They just don't care.
Oh yeah. There's nothing like how many times we flew to places and you see somebody in full pajamas
and slippers on the plane. You're like, well, and I'm like, I'm the kind where it's like, hey, I want to look presentable. And I want to look like a slob. I wear a nice golf shirt, slacks, good shoes. Like I want to look presentable. Like you travel. It's the privilege. It's not like you're taking a bus. You don't want to be sitting next to a slob, and you get this guy sitting there with a pizza in his lap, and he's wearing slippers and Scooby-Doo pajamas.
Right. It's nice for the ladies because we could just wear leggings on the plane, and they're both comfortable and cute.
And they look good, yeah.
And they look great.
I had to teach my lady friend that trick. She would wear jeans on the plane. I'm like, no.
Girl.
You wear your yoga pants and an oversized shirt. You're going to be so comfy and cozy. You're going to thank me when you get off the plane.
It's a look.
And it's a look. It looks great. I think it looks awesome.
And speaking of that, John, you and I, I've been traveling with those now too, but the Lululemon Vans bands.
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
Don't. Tyler's obsessed.
I'm obsessed with them because I love them. I mean, they look very presentable, but they're also so stretchy.
They're so nice.
For travel, they're the best.
So you bought the Lululemons. I bought the Public Rec, and I wear those things, and people don't. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And they have pockets. They have pockets that you can put a belt, but it's like basically just like yoga pants for men. It's a beautiful thing. It's the greatest invention ever. And that kind of casual clothing is taken over, where it's like the stealth dress clothes. You get a nice pair of Lululemons, a nice T-shirt. Sneakers, you look presentable. You go to a meeting.
I've worn them with like a black. I remember like black T-shirt and just a sports jacket, and it looks great.
Yeah, look presentable.
I'm telling you, expensive athleisure over like expensive like formal wear any day nowadays.
Yeah,
like you could still be an athleisure, but your outfits could still cost like $700.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
definitely.
But you got to say, there's nothing better than a 3-piece button-down suit, like full on.
Yeah, I do miss like a nice crisp button-down shirt and pair of slacks that fit when you're not overweight. Because sometimes I get a little overweight sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely a look. I mean, I always like the feeling of wearing like a nice shirt going to a meeting.
It just makes you feel better too.
Makes you feel better.
Put that suit on.
Boost your confidence.
See, I feel blessed that we're in the era we're in because for some reason I feel my most confident in like athleisure. Like when I'm dressed nice, when I have like a skirt or a dress on, I feel like a complete idiot. Like I feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's totally opposite. I think it's just generational thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably.
For sure. For me, it's like putting that suit on is like, it's just on, it's just, it's generational. You just get used to it. I think, this is going to be interesting. People are not going back to offices anytime soon, really full force. So like, how do you wear, like, what's the point?
True.
Are you going to wear a suit? I mean,
I'm not wearing a suit. I have to wear a mask just to survive. What do you care about my suit?
Right.
Pretty sad. All right. We'll do a little stat time. As one of the nation's oldest clothing brands, Brooks Brothers has historically dressed 40 U.S. presidents over the years. It introduced the first button-down collar shirt in 1896, an idea a grandson of the founder got from watching a polo match in England. He noticed that the players' collars didn't flap in the wind because they were buttoned down. It made popular other looks, such as the reverse stripe rep tie, a take on Britain's regimental neckwear, as well as Harris tweed and the Shetland sweater. And finally, in 2001, Brooks Brothers' only international market was Japan. Today, it has a presence in more than 70 countries. Interesting that this type of fashion has caught on elsewhere in the world. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, definitely, like, you could imagine, Brooks Brothers store in London, but maybe even like in Dubai or something like that. I don't know. Very interesting. All right,
Perhaps.
guys, get anything else?
Nope.
All right, that is your e-commerce minute for today. See you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at SUMO Heavy.